There's something magical about the bond between a human and their dog. It's a connection built on love, loyalty, and those unspoken moments that touch our hearts forever. Welcome to A Dog's Devotion, a podcast that celebrates the incredible ways dogs change our lives and sometimes even save them. Hi, I'm Carla Basagi, and in each episode we'll share powerful, heartfelt stories of dogs who have rescued their humans just as much as they've been rescued themselves. From acts of bravery to the quiet, everyday love that heals, these stories will make you laugh, cry, and even appreciate your furry best friend even more, if that is at all possible. Do you have a story that you'd like to share? I'd love to hear it. Join us on A Dog's Devotion, because every dog has a story, and every story deserves to be told. Welcome to A Dog's Devotion, the podcast where we share the powerful and emotional stories of how dogs shape and sometimes save our lives. Today's episode is a tender one. I sit down with Marianne, who opens up about her beloved Yorkie, Holly. Now, she was tiny in size, but enormous in spirit. Holly was more than just a pet. She was Marianne's constant companion, her confidant, and her heart. After Holly passed, sadly, she left a space so deep it's hard to put into words. But today, Marianne tries. This is a story about love, loss, and the unbreakable bond that remains even when our dogs are no longer by our side. And Marianne, I want to personally just say thank you for reaching out to me, sharing your story. Max inspired a lot of people to reach out to me with their own dog loss stories, and that helped heal my heart, but it still never took away the pain of losing your best friend. And I know you know exactly what that's about.
I know exactly.
So let's talk about Holly and what she meant to you. Can you describe the connection you had with her?
Well, when we got Holly, she was a year old. So we always had rescue dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought, they need a home. And I thought I didn't want them too old. But when I got Holly, she was a year old and she was too little to breed. So the breeder that I found said she was looking for a good home for her. And we just fit perfectly with what she was looking for. And so I stayed home when we got Holly. I didn't work. So I haven't worked in several years. And she was my shadow. She was my best friend. She gave me the will to wake up every morning, because having a dog, you have to wake up in the morning and let them
Yeah.
out, and you have to feed them, and you have to take care of them and nurture them. And that's what she did for me. She really gave me a purpose in life, not just, staying home and just being by myself. I had a constant companion.
Yeah, I don't know about you. I know you have another dog. We'll talk about that. I'm not ready yet, but I found with Max, as you said, it was my reason to get up in the morning. I was getting up early because I knew I had to feed him. We'd go for a walk. It gave me a purpose to wake up. And when that's taken away from you so suddenly, it's almost like you don't have a reason to wake up.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
hard.
it's hard.
What made Holly, and I'm sure, she was just a bundle of cuteness. What made her so special to you?
She was so special because she was a very calm dog, very calm, very laid back. She never jumped on one piece of furniture. She would do a little twirl, and she would ask to be brought up on the furniture or on the couch with you. So I just call her like, she was like the perfect dog. I,
Yeah.
I said, she's not even a dog. She's like a person.
She's a person.
Yes, and she was very thin and she had long legs, so I used to call her my little model. And I used to take pictures of her and she would actually pose for me. And
Yeah.
I used to find that so much fun, just photographing her. Um she just She was the light of our whole family. There's just three of us, myself, my husband, and my son. And she just made us all feel important. Like she needed all of us, not just me, but she needed the whole family, like a pack all together.
Yeah. In what ways did Holly support you emotionally or spiritually? Marianne?
She helped me emotionally on my bad days,
Hmm.
and I was depressed. She helped me. I mean, she would lick my tears. On the days when I was happy, she would be happy. And I could just feel her her love all the time. And even when I was angry, she could feel that. And dogs do. They feel emotions that you have and they pick up on that. And so spiritually, that's one thing that she did give me. She gave me that kind of a life.
Isn't it great how dogs are so in tune to us and they just seem to know what you need? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
What role did she play in your daily life? I mean, obviously, you said she was your shadow and your protector, and obviously a little spark of joy all day long.
Yes, she was. And in my daily life, like we would go for walks
Yeah.
and I always dressed her in a bow and she had a closet full of dresses. So I
Cute.
would dress her every morning and I would put a new bow, a fresh bow in her hair every day. And she was the daughter that I never had.
Well, that's beautiful.
Yes, she was. She was. Everyone would say that you're like they would think I was crazy, putting these little outfits on her and these little bows in her hair and I said, "Yes, I'm the crazy Yorkie lady." I said, "I'm sorry if you don't like it." I said, "But I said the dog does.
And that's all that matters.
That's all that matters." Yes.
With her love and support and her being so in tune to you, do you think that she helped you through certain phases of your life that were maybe difficult or challenging?
Yes, she helped me. In more, to be honest with you, stones in our lives.
Yeah.
We lost my husband's parents within 5 months of each other. And that was very, very difficult for myself because I loved my mother in law like as if she was a mom to me, and my father in law because I have been with my husband since I was 17. So it's a
Wow.
long time,
It
long
is a
marriage,
long
long
time.
time. And when they passed, she was there. And she was there not only for me, but for my husband and for my son, because we lost parents and we lost grandparents. Then she was there for milestones. When Brandon got his driver's license, she sat on my lap and I taught my son how to drive.
Mhm.
And she just would sit on my lap and enjoy the ride. Then when my son graduated from grade 12, she was there for his grade 12 graduation, which was another milestone in our lives. And then the biggest milestone that I can think of that she did, and I think she really held out her last year of life for this. But my son got married June 22nd of 1999, just before COVID came. And I had a special seamstress make a special dress just for Holly with a big bow. And it was pink and it was very tutu looking. And it was absolutely like no one could believe that this dog had this dress on. It was probably nicer than some of the people who were at the wedding. and and more expensive too. And they, you know, people could see how much I love this dog. My favorite picture is the picture of the four of us, my son, my husband, and myself holding Holly, and we are standing in front of the house, and um, it it just shows you can just see the love. You can see the love that we had for her and how our family we just we all loved one another, and it was Holly that made us that way. She was our main source of love for the whole family.
Yeah.
And the year that he did get married was when she was diagnosed with diabetes. And I went to the veterinarian and I said, what can we do for her? And he said, well, she's 13 years old. And he said, we can do this, this, and this. But he said, I'm going to be honest with you. He said, she's old. He said, and if I were you, she's not in pain. I would just let her live out her days happy with you. And he said, and when her time comes, he said, we'll be here for you. Veterinary clinic will support you. And so I knew I had the support when the day would come. And I just prayed to God that she would make it to Brandon's wedding. And she did.
She
She
did.
made it. She made it. She made it to June. Yes.
Wow, that's lovely. But then obviously after that, you lost Holly, which I know firsthand. It's devastating. I know what my experiences was like. I'm sure it wasn't much different than yours. But can you tell us a little bit about what those first days or weeks felt like for you?
When she passed away,
Yes.
well, we were in COVID, so we
Yeah.
were isolated. And that really, really hurt a lot because my best friend in the whole wide world was gone.
Hmm.
She was gone. And she passed away 1 week exactly to her birthday of turning 14. And she would have been 14 May 29th and of 2020. So, like I said, she lived nearly a year after my son Brandon got married. So she gave me an extra year of her life because it was very hard to also let my son go and move
Hmm.
and move out of the house and start a life with his wife. So she was there and she made it easier for me not to miss him. But when she passed, there was no one there except my husband and I, and we felt so alone. And we just felt like a piece of our heart was just missing and gone. And I cried every single morning that I would wake up. It was like I rose out of bed and I would just start crying and crying. And she used to sleep on the top of my head and or in between the two of us. And I missed her so much that I actually called the breeder who I got her from, and her name was Esther, and I hadn't spoken to her since the day I picked Holly up in 2007. And I called her in 2020, that many years later, and I was crying hysterically on the phone. And I said, Holly has passed away. And she cried with me,
She
and she
did.
said,
Yeah.
yes, she did. And she said, I know how special that dog was to you, but she was also a very special dog. She said she was a very unique dog, very unique. I said, she was. And I said, and she was the love of our lives. And through Esther, through COVID, my husband did work through COVID. So you can imagine I was home alone
By yourself.
by
Yeah.
myself, no more Holly, nothing. Esther called me every single morning to make sure I was okay
Wow.
and got out of bed. And I was going to be okay, she told me. She said, everyone has their time of grieving. Some people grieve longer than others. Some people are ready right away to have another dog. Some people may not ever have another dog because of the loss. Some people, she said, would, wait a little while and then get another dog. And so I, at that point, didn't know what I wanted. I just knew that she was gone.
Hmm.
And so, but I felt Holly's energy and I felt that she gave me a best friend in the world. This woman is beautiful inside and out. And her and I have stayed in touch all these years since Holly's passing. And I'm now there for her because her spouse passed away in May.
My goodness.
Yes, and I call her and make sure she's having a good day and she's okay.
Marianne, it's incredible. I mean, it's devastating. And I think a lot of people who don't have a dog, they don't often realize that pet grief is real, and it's unfathomable, and it's just it overtakes you. You know, you can go down the rabbit hole and get very depressed if you don't have somebody. You're so, out of Holly's passing, something good came out of it.
Yes.
Had Esther, a new best friend who then you helped when she lost her husband. So, I try and look at the positives. Like when Max passed, my mom, who I hadn't spoke to in 14 years, came back into my life and I got a partner. So there was some good. It was like Max was just this dog that just always gave. Even in his passing, he was still giving. And I think Holly
That's
did that for you too.
yes, that's you said it like exactly. She gave even after
Yeah.
passing.
Um, so I know you have another dog, but what helped you to begin to heal? Was it just because you mentioned everybody was different? Was it just time? Was it talking to Esther? Was it just something else you did entirely? Like what was that process like of healing?
It was time. It
Yeah.
was a year had passed, and Esther and I would talk about Holly a lot, most probably every time we talked.
Mhm.
And there would be some discussion about her. And then one day I just said to Esther, I've never had a puppy from birth. And she said, why don't you think about that? Maybe getting a puppy from birth may be something different and will somehow change your life. She said, because you've always had experience with rescue dogs. And she said, think about it. And I said, I know nothing about training a puppy. Nothing. I said, my dogs were always trained when I got them. And she guided me through the whole process of training her, how to crate her, how to, when it was time to let her into the bed, like just everything about there was to know about a Yorkie. She knew because she was a Yorkie breeder.
Mhm.
And that kind of made me think. And I mentioned it to my husband and I said, do you think we should get another dog? And he said, well, we do want to travel. And he said, and I'm going to, be retiring in a few years. And I said, but right now, I said,
Mhm.
in our life, I said, don't you think we need something? We need some love from another dog.
Mhm.
I said, it's not that I'm forgetting about Holly because I never will. I said, she is the dog that I will never forget. And I said, and I'm not getting another dog to replace her, but I'm getting another dog to fill the heart a little bit more. And Esther found me another little Yorkie that was being born. And because we were in COVID, I FaceTimed with the breeder from the day she was born, and she had her in her little hand and we FaceTimed and till she was ready to be picked up. And the funny thing is, we picked her up in May of 2021, a week before Holly passed away. Can you believe that? Like, I couldn't
No.
believe it. I said, Holly, you are performing miracles.
No kidding.
And I mentioned to the breeder, I sent her pictures of Holly and I said, I would like a dog to look like this, exactly like this. And she said, I can do that for you. And I said, can you do that for me? And she said, trust me, just have faith, Marianne, that you will have a dog that will look like your Holly. So when we got Sophie, that's what we named her. And
Yeah.
I named her Sophie after Esther's dog. And I asked Esther if
Okay.
I could name her Sophie because Esther stopped breeding dogs and she had one Yorkie left and her name was Sophie. And I thought that was such a pretty soft name. And I said, Esther, would you mind if I named my new puppy Sophie? And she said, I would be honored. And so that's how she got her name.
Well, that's a great story.
And she changed our lives when I held that little tiny thing in my arms. And I thought, there's no way. She was dark. And like, if you know Yorkies, they are born very dark. And I thought, Holly was blonde colored and
Mhm.
gray, light colored. And I thought, there's no way this dog is ever going to look like Holly. As she got older, you would think they were twins. There has been people who have asked me, like that have not seen me in years, wow, Holly looks so good. I said, this is not Holly. this is another dog. And
Wow.
like, I mean, I took a picture of side by side of the two of them, and you would swear they were either sisters or twins.
Isn't that incredible?
It's incredible how much this dog looks like Holly. And there is, unfortunately, sometimes when I call her Holly and I say, "Oh, sorry, Sophie." And, I'm sure she understands, but I do. And she just filled that void. She filled that void, but I wasn't ready till a
Mhm.
good full year to, open my heart again and
Yeah.
and say, I can do this again. But this for us, we know that this will be our last dog that we will get.
Right.
And so I treasure every moment with her.
Hmm.
And I treat her again like the daughter I never had. And so she wears bows and dresses the same
I
as
love
she
that.
wears the ones that Holly wore. So that's why sometimes I get confused. Yeah. But, I have a saying, and it's be kind to your dog. I'm just going to read this to you. It's be kind to your dog. He is a few years of your life, but you are all of his.
Yeah, that's a great saying.
Isn't that like that? I thought I came up with that saying, and I said to my husband, "Is that not true?" And that he said the same thing. That is a great saying. It's true.
It is true. And we forget that, they're in our lives for such a short period of time. Why not spoil them rotten and give them everything that we can to make them happy? Because they give us so much.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
think we lose sight of that in the midst of everyday life, you know? You don't really realize that until you felt the dog grief, and then you realize, "Oh my gosh." Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you got another dog. I'm glad that this dog looks like Holly. That's a great story. And out of all this, you have a new friendship, especially someone who knew Holly's beginnings. How incredible is that?
I know, it's amazing, and I think, like, I mean, we spoke, and I think it's Holly's gift to me.
Of course.
She's with me every day. I know she is,
I know.
and
Yeah.
I talk to her, and, I I still make it like I said, sometimes I mistaken Sophie for Holly, but, it's just part of life, and
I know, but it doesn't make it any easier, you
it
know?
doesn't make it any easier because when I say her name, it's always a reminder. But as I said, it'll never go away. The grief of especially a dog that you loved so much, that grief never really goes away.
No,
It's
I
just
have to
like
agree
as
with you.
if you've lost a human person. It's the same. And it really, really hurts. It hurts a lot. And
No.
unless you've been through it, you have no idea what it feels like.
But, we have to try and look at the positive, and that's what I try and do now with the gifts that Max gave to me. And I think Holly gave you a great gift too. Her one final gift to you was friendship and a dog that looked just like her.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's pretty special.
Yes.
I know you said that Holly, you feel like she's still with you in some way. Do you feel that on most days that she's still around somehow?
I do,
Yeah.
mainly because I never threw out anything that she had. I kept her collar. I kept her leash. I have her ashes. I have her paw print on a clay little thing that they make for you at the veterinarian. And I have a picture just under the console under our television. And I see that picture every day, every single day. But beside that picture, I put a picture of Sophie.
Nice.
And I thought to myself, this is you and this is you. And you can't compare the two. There is no way you can compare the two dogs. They are totally, totally separate personalities. And that's okay. You just learn to get used to the new dog's personality.
Do you believe that dogs come into our lives for a reason and sometimes leave behind more than we ever expected?
Yes, I do. I do believe that sometimes you go through things and you don't expect the dog to be there for that particular moment in your life, and you see them as your companion, your confidant. They are loving you unconditionally at all times. And even when they see us, like I said, sad or happy or angry or upset or anything like that, they feel our emotions. And I think that that's what she really gave.
I know it's hard when we've both gone through it. Dog grief is unbearable, but for someone who's going through it right now, what words of advice could you give somebody to sort of ease their pain a little bit?
I would say to somebody who, and to yourself also,
Hmm.
that you have to have faith that that beautiful creature that God created for us, man, to love, and he will always be in our hearts. And there is no such time as a timeline for you to grieve for them, but you have to know and you have to have it in your heart that they have crossed that rainbow bridge and one day you will meet again.
You think so?
Absolutely, Carla. Absolutely. I think that Holly and I will meet again. You will meet Max again.
I hope so.
I think you will. And I believe it because I can feel her spirit. And when you feel that, you know that that dog is just waiting for you, but
Yeah.
wanting you to have the life that you need to have. And whatever it is, like I said, whether you get another dog or whether you don't get another dog, that particular dog that passed away knows exactly what you need.
Yeah.
So Max knows what you need.
Hmm.
And it may come to you and you may not figure it out right away, as I did with Esther and Sophie being the same as Holly, looking the same. But when I came to that realization, I realized it was her. She did this. She
She
did this
did.
for me.
She did.
She did.
Blessed Holly. Sweet thing.
She was fantastic. She was a fantastic, such a calm little dog. I think everyone that met her loved her.
Mhm.
Everybody wanted to babysit her. And oh,
No shortage of babysitting offers, I'm sure, when you
no,
when you went
no.
away.
Yes, exactly. She was my son and his girlfriend or wife to be at the time. We would go away for a weekend and we'd have no reservations about leaving her with them.
Yeah.
And even my parents, who were at the time well, and they said, "Oh, watch Holly." And it was so good for them because as
Yeah, of
elderly
course.
people,
Yeah.
oh, they love them. They just love little dogs and big dogs too, of course, but any dog just brings it brings a joy to an older person's life.
Have you seen the service dogs that go into senior citizens' homes and they go around to bed, and the seniors are by themselves? As you know, a lot of them don't have any company coming to visit them, and they sit in a bed all day, and they bring, whether it's a golden retriever or a golden doodle or a Yorkie, and they just light up, and it just gives them so much love while that dog is there. It changes their whole mood. Dogs have a way of doing that, and I think it's amazing.
Yes. Well, actually, now my parents are both in a nursing home together, and we bring Holly. This nursing home allows you to bring your own dog into the home. So
Right.
I said Holly.
You did, and I didn't even catch that.
Did you see that? I
Oh,
said Holly.
she's
We,
around.
she is. She's here right now. And we bring Sophie, and
Okay.
she lights up everyone's lives in there. All you can see the senior citizens and how they are. And, some of them, they can't even speak, some of these people,
Right.
but all they do is put their hand out and the dog licks their hand. And you see the joy in their eyes of just petting the dog.
Yeah.
And they do, they bring love. They bring a lot of love.
Because that's all they are, is love.
That's all
They don't know anything else.
no,
They're the purest form in my eyes.
they are. They are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Marianne, thank you for sharing your story. It's very heartfelt. It's very close to home for me. So I'm really glad that we got to chat and hear about Holly and then Sophie and all the good that came out of it. There is good that comes out of it. And for people who are going through dog loss and dog grief, it takes time, and time does heal. It never goes away. It just gets a little softer, but it's always there. Like my pain will always be there, as I'm sure yours will too.
Yes, it will.
It's just now a part of my life.
It is.
Yeah,
And it always will be. But we'll get through it.
I know.
You will. Definitely.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
I think by doing this podcast, I
Mhm.
think you are honoring Max.
Thank you.
I think that is just a wonderful thing that you have come up with. And I don't think that you just came up with that on your own.
No, I think Max had something to do with it.
I think so too.
He did, for sure. Well, thank you, Marianne. It was a pleasure. And grief is the price we pay for love, right? And when it comes to our dogs, that price can feel unbearable, as we've both been talking about. I want to thank you, Marianne, for sharing your heart, your memories of sweet Holly, and of your new dog, Sophie. Though Holly is no longer here in body, her spirit clearly lives on in every word, every tear, and every smile that Marianne shares. If you've lost a dog you love deeply, you know that you are not alone. And remember, the love our dogs gave us never really leaves. It lives on in us forever. This is a dog's devotion. Until next time, hold your pups a little closer. Marianne, thank you. And give Sophie a big hug and kiss from me. Thank you.
Definitely.
All
And
right.
you take
Enjoy.
care of yourself, Carla.
You take care too. I'll speak to you soon.
Okay. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Bye.
Bye bye.
And my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap on another unforgettable story from the heart, because when it comes to love, loyalty, and second chances, no one does it better than our dogs. They find us when we're lost, lift us when we're low, and teach us what true devotion really looks like. Thanks for listening, and remember, in this wild world, we're all just trying to find our way home. Sometimes it takes 4 paws to lead us there. So give your pup an extra cuddle today and cherish your time with him. Give him some extra treats too. I know he'll love them. This podcast is in honor of my best buddy, Max.